Luxury Home Show. I'm Kelli Daley of Casa Linda Interior Studio. Welcome to my home in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Around the island, we also have our dog station. I like to call it my little design studio up here. It feels almost Mediterranean, and that's kind of the look I was going for up here. Before I show you the interior, let's start outside with some special details that we incorporated out here. When we bought this house, it was all saltillo tile in the front with a pretty low gate and a very old fountain. The saltillo tile was really slippery, and as cool as this old fountain was, it would crumble. So we demoed that. We installed this beautiful tumbled marble tile in this irregular pattern, and I still wanted to have a fountain. So we did one of these trough style fountains, and I love the sound and the look and feel that it provides out here. So we also added awnings to the windows. It rains a lot during the summer season of Puerto Vallarta, and this was mainly to help protect the water from coming inside the house. But because we were doing it, I thought, why not, of course, add some character to it? So we did pretty cool brackets, a little scalloped edge on the awning, and then we painted the brick white, which I loved the red original brick, but it felt very patchy and a little bit old and rustic. So I kept the brick, but wanted to just give it a nice coat of warm white to update it a little bit. It's very common to give homes a name here in Mexico, and so for ours, we picked what translates to House of Dreams or Dream Home, because this really is a dream for us. So we had this beautiful sign made locally, and it has the name Casa Ensueño. Right next to our house, we have this property that we helped clean up. And what's so fun is from that original fountain that was in front of our house, it had a lion head on it. We kept him and hung him here in the garden. We cleaned this property up to be more of a friendly community space. We take our dogs out here, they love hanging out, and we welcome any other neighbors that want to come in here, relax, or enjoy time with their dogs here as well. So welcome to the interior of our home. Starting here in this little entry area, it was a bit of a tricky area. I set it up multiple ways, but ultimately landed on using this bench that we had and brought from California. It fits actually perfectly here, and a cabinet that we had as well to display some beautiful objects, but some functional storage as well. I also not only have hooks for, again, functionality, but I have little paintings of our sweet dogs. One feature that you notice right away entering into this home are these beautiful stairs. The curve and the structure and the railing was all kept the same, but they were totally brick and concrete before. There was so much brick in this house, and they would kind of crumble under your feet. So I really loved the structure, not necessarily the material. So we covered them in chacum, which is a natural material that comes from trees in the Yucatan. So it's local to Mexico and has this beautiful finish to it that you'll see even on some of our walls, our floors. It is kind of Mexico's version of Venetian plaster, and I love the way it turned out. Above us, we installed this chandelier, which is one of the things I was most excited about. There was no lighting here before, so I had the team wire something and did this kind of draped chandelier to add a little bit more of a statement. Moving into our kitchen. This was a fairly big change. As I mentioned, there was a lot of brick in this house, and the kitchen before was made mostly of brick. It had a really small brick island with no overhang, so you couldn't really sit. And the whole backsplash was brick and all just open storage underneath so you could see everything. Lastly, here it had a little pantry and had quite a bit of unused space here. So I wanted to take it up, use all the space we had, and as a result, end up with more storage. For our cabinets, you'll see throughout our home, I chose Rosa Morada wood, which is Puerto Vallarta's version almost of an oak. Oak is a really soft material. As much as I love it and used it in California when we were there, it is a little too fragile for the weather, the climate here in Vallarta. So I love the Rosa Morada. What's so cool about these cabinets is they were truly handmade. They were handmade by carpenters in Guadalajara and brought here, installed, and even during the install, the carpenter team was making adjustments out on the street by hand, doing cuts, doing, again, adjustments. I mean, they're truly handcrafted cabinets. I love the idea in a kitchen of incorporating materials, mixed materials. So incorporated this reeded glass that you'll actually see throughout the home. And I love to hide away just the more unsightly things in a kitchen. So we made these appliance garages that we keep our toaster oven inside, and we have our little coffee station on this side. Behind the textured glass, we have a light feature that I keep on honestly most of the time. I love the light that it gives through the glass. I was so excited when I found this quartzite stone here in Mexico. It's a Montebello quartzite slab, and it is a 10-foot island, and it's one solid slab. A little tricky to get here because, fun fact about this home, it's only accessible by stairs. There's no street access, so the guys had to carry it up the stairs, but luckily they got it here, and I just love all the tones through it and the natural materials. It is honed, which I also love, just that matte finish. In the kitchen, we did keep the original layout, so the location of the fridge, the stove, the sink is all the same. The layout just worked really well, and so we kept it as is, hence our nice stove in the island. Around the island, we also have our dog station. With it being a 10-foot island, we had some room to work with, and I prefer to feed our sweet little dogs outside of the kitchen. It's just safer for them, and so I incorporated on the outside of this island their own pot filler, little water station. They get a pot filler, but we don't, but they're worth it. So something special for them. And then of course we have seating around this island. We hang out here a lot when we have people over, and what's cool is I have a little bit of hidden storage in there as well. I love how this quartzite waterfalls on this side of the kitchen. One of my favorite client projects ever had a cabinet in front of a window, which I really haven't seen since then, but I loved the concept of the light shining through. So when I saw this window that faces out to the street, not something we would really open very often and not something that we would want to see through to the street. So we put that textured glass in here, and I thought it was a great opportunity to build some shelving in front of it and have that same concept of light shining through behind it. What I love about these shelves is it's a mix of functional objects and more fun, meaningful pieces that I love to display. This microwave popcorn bowl was from my childhood. My mom would actually serve me popcorn in that bowl. For the perimeter countertops, I love the idea of a mixed material. So something different than what we did in the island. So for the perimeter countertops, we did use chicum, again, a natural material, and it will patina over time, which I think is something that is beautiful about using natural materials. Here we have our farmhouse sink. I love the texture in the front And the view is pretty great for when you're doing dishes. We incorporated a dishwasher here, but it's panel ready. So although the other appliances are shown, I love the idea of hiding that one. On either side of the window, we had these sconces installed, and I really like the detail that they give with this pull chain and the sweet kind of textured glass around it. For the backsplash, I actually kept the brick in here and just plastered over it. So again, there was a lot of brick in this house, but I liked, instead of incorporating another material in here, keeping that. You can still kind of see the texture of the brick, and that way you're not getting rid of it or hiding it completely. Another special thing at the end of the kitchen, I have my grandma's handwritten recipe cards here. This is a recipe for one of my favorite things she makes, which is a chocolate pie. Heading into our dining area, it is adjacent to one of the beautiful arch windows that this house has. A fun little story for you. When we first discussed moving to Mexico, I made a design deck that was just in my head. It didn't actually exist. And it had in it arched windows, it had a fireplace. And when I saw this house, it was almost what I put in that design deck, and it just felt meant to be. Fireplaces aren't super common in Mexico because with the climate, you don't need them. This is a functional fireplace, and I felt the way it looked was pretty perfect for the house. I really love the stone on it, and it is functional, but again, because of the climate, we don't use it a ton. I love to put candles in it and light them at night. It gives off a beautiful light. This is a fun vintage painting that I found at a vintage art gallery in town. For the dining room, we brought these chairs with us from California, but had them recovered, and I think that is a really great option to change up something without rebuying a piece and making a huge new investment. So that's actually why you'll see a lot of neutral tones in the structure of the home, because as a designer, I like to change things a lot. And I think if it were too kind of crazy colorful in some areas, I would just be kind of changing it all the time. I really push for the idea of being able to make subtle changes. So that being said, we had these recovered in a really pretty green as an accent color with all the neutral tones. This awesome table we found at a local shop. I love the detail of the ends of it. And then we capped it off with some vintage chairs that have a great cane material and kind of the same wood tone as the dining table. This big linen pendant, I'm a big fan of the linen pendants, and I think it's perfect for this space. It kind of makes a statement, and I really like the texture that it gives. So moving over here, this structure existed. It's actually to support the pool that you'll see on the rooftop, and so obviously kept it. The whole house has a fresh coat of warm white paint. We did Swiss Coffee by Benjamin Moore and just simply styled this with a plant. But behind here, there was really no storage in this house. There were no closets. There were no any kind of closed storage where you can't see all of the things. So this was another opportunity similar to the kitchen where there was a lot of vertical space that could be used for storage. And so I designed this built-in and had a local carpenter in Vallarta make it, and I think that he did just a beautiful job. It is solid Rosa Murata. We incorporated the cutout detail on the doors, the beautiful art lights at the top, and then some drawer storage at the bottom. When we did move into this house, there was some older furniture that came with the house. There was a console here that I actually liked, and it had hardware like this. Because it was so old, it wasn't in great shape. It kind of had some termite damage. So this was kind of my homage to that piece of furniture, and I incorporated it into this beautiful storage piece. Into our living space, I'll be honest, this is where you'll find us a lot of the time, even for what you'll see we have for the rooftop. I just find this space so cozy, so comfortable. This was a custom-made sofa that we had made in California, and I would say one of the reasons that we brought our furniture with us, because we could not let go of this couch. It is the most comfortable sofa, but we recovered it when we got here. So another great example of how you can change it up without buying a whole new sofa. So it has this warm colored, kind of rusty slipcover on it. And we just have this cozy pillows, cozy ottoman, and a nice accent chair in the corner with, of course, these beautiful arch windows continued and a beautiful view out to the ocean. And then come this way to our office and guest room. So with the style of this house, it is still a little bit rustic. It used to be a lot rustic, but wanted to keep that still rustic charm, hence incorporating still some of the original brick. These are the original doors, but another modern element that we were able to add is, of course, a smart light all around the home. Alexa, turn on the rope light. We have that nice rope light feature there as well. On our way into our office and guest room too, this is one of the walls that we decided to use that chacum on and just really admire the texture that it gives. Here downstairs is our office and what we use as a guest space. Before, there was really no storage in here either. They were kind of just open closets. So I had another local carpenter make these closet doors with the textured fronts and a Peroda wood. Here is another sofa that we brought with us, but had it slip covered, and it is a pull-out sofa for when our guests are here. This is where they stay. This was one of the earlier rooms in our renovation, and in here I really wanted lime wash paint, but could not find it in Mexico. So I did one of the kind of faux lime wash techniques with 2 colors of a Benjamin Moore paint painted in like an X pattern. And so it subtly gives that movement of the lime wash paint. Over here, there used to be a window to the outside, but it wasn't quite functional for what we saw out there. And so instead, we closed that up and put some nice shelves to display what we wanted to in the office space. So here is our downstairs guest bathroom. And this might be one of my favorite spaces. For sure, one of my favorite transformations. There were really high ceilings in this space, so we had room to do a drop ceiling and add this lighting around the rim of the room. We also covered this whole space in that chacum material and added these beautiful hand-woven lights, pendant lights, a really tall mirror, and I was thrilled when I found Carrara marble here. We made a big sink of it, a floating sink with this fluted detail in front. Before, it was a really small vanity, and so we really maximized the amount of space here. Carl likes it as well. The visual impact that this makes, I think, is just stunning. And over on this side, it used to be a really small shower, and when I saw the width of this bathroom, I thought, I can fit a bathtub in here, and I'm a big fan of taking baths, so I was so happy we were able to, again, maximize that space and put a bathtub in here. We accented the Carrara in the back of the bathtub as well and made it a functional shower, as this is our guest space. So not only a bath, but it has this great large shower head above, and a surprise feature when we got this bathtub, it lights up and it has bubbles. So it's very relaxing and very fun in here. And then in this corner of the bathroom, we have these niches that actually existed. We just covered them in that chacum, added some vintage art, and I would try to think of even the smallest details. So even made the handle here a little bit prettier. Before we move on to the next space, let me show you the floor detailing in this bathroom. So we actually took the remnants of our outdoor tile and used it in a different way. So it was that tumbled stone tile that we put in the front patio in an irregular pattern, but in here we did it in the long subway pieces in a running bond pattern. But then under the bathtub, we framed it out and used the smaller pieces in a diagonal pattern. And I think it turned out great. I just really enjoy using every piece of material that we have, but in a slightly different way. And now we come out and see this beautiful curved stair moment. Earlier this morning, I took the luxury home show team down to one of my favorite spots for sourcing pottery and handmade textiles in town. It's called Casa Oaxaca. It's a family-owned business and they hand weave all their textiles. It's a very cool spot. So some of these pieces are from there. This is from Casa Oaxaca, as well as this beautiful pottery down here. What's cool about this moment is all of these finds are local. This is from the shop that our contractor team actually has. Their space is called Casa Artesanal. So we made this travertine pedestal table to hold up this moment in this curved stair area. And this is local as well as some local art. These ones were actually hand painted by my neighbor, and this one made by an artist here with a copper plate, which I've never seen before. This second door that does kind of match the main entry door with this beautiful arch and this cool detail goes out into what we made our side yard. This used to be totally open. It was basically just dirt and half of a fence. When we came out here, kind of stare into the neighbors. So we wanted a little bit more privacy and therefore built up a brick wall, but wanted to be a friendly brick wall, not an actual leave us alone brick wall. So with this brick enclosure, we added this pattern to it too, so you still have some light peeking through, and then built in this planter. And then to add some outside storage, we built a pretty awesome bodega. We even have a fridge out there for some extra drink storage. We actually spend a good amount of time out here. It's enclosed, so we let our pets out here. We have our coffee in the morning and it's pretty enjoyable. Surrounded by a lot of greenery. We have eucalyptus, which I like to make some arrangements from. We have lime trees where we have some limes growing. Makes me very proud because even with the help of a gardener, I'm not that great at keeping plants alive. So I was very happy to see some citrus actually growing. At the end, we have just this sweet little bistro table set up, some lanterns hanging in this tree, and then this connects back to our front. So up here, we have these beautiful curved windows, and this was mostly unused space, so decided to make it a cozy built-in window seat. And we sit in it more often than you think, especially with the dogs and cat kind of sunbathing there. It's pretty sweet. I'll have a really cool light up there, a vintage table that I found locally, and a really cool vintage painting from France in, I would say, the 1900s. Here is our upstairs bathroom. I have on the door a little knocker that I found in a vintage shop, just to add a sweet detail. And then inside, I really like the idea of more of a statement, whether it be moody, whether it be wallpaper. For here, we went the moody direction for this kind of smaller bathroom. For this vanity, I had that same local carpenter that built the downstairs built-in create this. I drew it out for him with the curved feet detail on it, the fluted doors on the front, and found this stone sink locally as well. So mounted that on top, accented with antique brass, and again, used the flooring that we have outside. It's that same tumbled marble, but in here I used the square pieces in that running bond pattern. So what I like is that we had that extra material and we were able to incorporate it around different places of the home, but do it in a different way. So outside it was an irregular pattern, downstairs it was more of a long subway pattern, and here is the smaller square pieces. Inside, I thought this was a great opportunity to showcase some of the art pieces that I like to collect. Art is one of the things I most look for in either vintage stores or wherever I might be traveling. So I thought this would be a great place to do more of an eclectic gallery wall so that when I do find more of those pieces, I have a place to add on. So I do envision maybe one day this being even more coverage of little art pieces. For the shower in here, I really enjoyed the structure that was here. So this was original with the little circle detail. I just had them cover it in Chacum for a more durable finish. And on the inside, incorporated this very cool antique brass telephone feature for the plumbing. Here on our second level, we have another seating area. Had this built-in made for some more storage. Did paint grade cabinets here with some hardware, with some cool detailing. We have more Chacum walls up here that wrap around into this desk area. This is where I really do like to work. I find it very inspiring with not only the view, but I get to work from my little vintage desk that I found. It's from the 1920s with a beautiful marble top. And I have some more art that I've collected surrounding this space. So this one I painted on my own and put it in a vintage frame. This one here was actually done by my great uncle. He was an artist and he lived to be 108 years old. So I very proudly display his art. It's super cool. And a couple other local pieces. This is a local drawing of Vallarta, and I have my inspiration boards here. Another piece that I found locally is this vintage portrait. My husband thinks he's creepy, but I like him, so he hangs up here with me. This seating area, it's again kind of a place just to relax, be creative. I have a little art station, this vintage easel. Can be creative here. It's overall a very calming, inspiring space. I like to call it my little design studio up here. So on this floor is our primary bedroom and bathroom, but before I show you that, I'll show you where we made our closet. This was an extra bedroom and it wasn't really valuable for us to have a dedicated guest room. So we mostly needed storage and therefore incorporated a closet room. So I was able to design this. I used that Rosa Murata wood, that textured glass front so you can see through but not quite see everything inside. In this part of the closet, we incorporated a great accessory that I like to use to highlight any outfits I want to pull together for an easy grab and go or some maybe new pieces. And because we didn't put a mirror in the bedroom, we were able to incorporate one inside the closet that pulls out just like this. We have vintage rug, custom made ottoman running through the middle, a pretty cool light fixture, and then in this curved window, which are really great. And it provides great light. I decided to add some more storage even in the window by having this dresser made. And this is the same countertop as the kitchen. So it was remnants of that, but I had them do this OG edge on it. And I have some really great jewelry storage, sunglass storage in here. One of the contractor said, oh, we should put a nice big mirror here, which was a really great idea, but I wanted somewhere to display this. It's a painting that my grandma did of me in my wedding dress and a beach in Carmel that's really special to us. So I thought this was not only the perfect wall for it, but the perfect room for it because it's such a personal space. So I love displaying that. And here, even more special items. This lamp was in my nursery growing up. My mom kept it, and this is actually very in style right now. I see a lot of people thrifting them, but this one was actually from my childhood bedroom, and this little copper dish was also my grandma's. This is my husband's side. He gets the slightly smaller side, but it's plenty of storage for what he needs. For this side, this actually used to be part of the balcony. There was another arched window here, but we would never use that balcony. It wasn't quite private either. It looks out into other neighbors' houses. So we thought the most valuable use of space was to push out into the balcony and reclaim it for storage. So this is an expansion of the room. And then lastly, air conditionings are actually very important to us here in Vallarta with the climate. And even with the clothes, it's, best to keep them in a fairly cool climate. And so in order to kind of hide in a pretty way the air conditioning in here, we did this slatted front. So we still get the airflow, but it's a little bit more hidden. For the hardware in here, did a coffee bronze finish and mixed it with a little bit more special light switches, and we were able to source these from Mexico City. I really enjoy the rotary function of them. They're very pretty. To add to the collected art pieces I like to display in this space, I appreciate this one that is a vintage suit. I got it from Etsy and had it framed. When it arrived, I debated keeping it and wearing it, but ultimately still framed it and really enjoy the colors and texture it gives. Over here, we have our little bar cart area, another place to display some fun local finds. Love this little fish guy that is from a local spot called Horchata, so we named him Horchata. And then more art. This one I actually found at a vintage store in California, but it reminded me so much of here. So I bought it right before we moved and was thrilled to find it and give it a home. For our primary bedroom, I really like the feel of almost like a cave vibe, a moody feel for our bedroom. I just find it very comforting, cozy. And so we covered our room in that chacum material, and there was a beam on the ceiling already. I wanted to make it more of a feature, so I had them wrap it in wood and moved the electrical that was here before into the center of the beam and put this great linen pendant. For lighting in here, we have these fabulous Huey lighting sconces that I had the team hardwire above our textured nightstands. And another place I think just to keep it neutral, I find it again very calming just to have our personal space really just neutral colors, but a good opportunity to bring either pattern or color to the bedding or pillows when you are feeling up to it. Into our primary bathroom. For such a small space, we made quite a bit of changes in here, very impactful changes. One of them being closing this entrance into the bathroom to make it a little bit smaller. We arched it off, and then we're able to fit a nice big double sink here. Before it was a pretty small single vanity, and we just needed more storage for my husband and I. For the sink in here, I really was searching for texture and really admire this textured sink, like trough sink look, and was able to have a local artisan create this, chisel it out, and make a nice big trough sink out of travertine. We have polished brass fixtures in here. some really cool paper mache pendants above, and some travertine tile on the floor. Another big change that we made in here, this used to be closed off and was another part of the balcony. Again, it just wasn't so very private, not really a space that we'd spend a lot of time in. So we gained more valuable space by pushing out. It's even more private on our balcony now, and then we gained all of this storage. So pushed out and we're able to make a little vanity setup, added some really cool lighting into the cabinetry, and this probably one of my favorite views. I see it in the morning when I'm getting ready. You can see directly to the church. So this is our shower. It used to be completely open into what is one of these curved windows. To make it more comfortable and cozy, I wanted to build these walls in, add the plumbing to the inside of the wall, and add a beautiful structure to it. So the concept was brass and that reeded glass that you've seen throughout the home, and I think the team did a really incredible job executing it. Lastly, I had them add just a small wall here for a little bit of privacy, and have one of my great uncle's works displayed in here, which I really enjoy seeing. This space and the closet space is where I wanted to incorporate nicer switches and plugs. So this, same as the closet, we have these great rotary dials in an antique brass, and it just gives it an extra detail. So now that I've showed you the primary, let's head up to the roof. So on our way onto the roof, we used this window as a little music area. It is for my husband. He is the one that plays. I just put in the requests. And my current request is Wicked. I also put this disco ball here just for fun lighting in the morning. As you can see, it hits and just casts this beautiful light all around. I like to call it disco hour, and it even happens in the evening from this direction. So onto the roof. And now, welcome to the most magical part of our home, our rooftop. Before I show you the entertainment side and what I kind of like to call wellness area, let's start with the more homey side. So our laundry, when we moved here, was machines outside, and there wasn't really room for a laundry room, but I was able to make one by kind of pushing this out and building around it. So we have our machines. I was able to make some custom dry racks here, and a little sink area. It has the same Montebello quartzite as in the kitchen and in our closet. And I incorporated some functional features like a little extra room for folding when I need it, since this countertop isn't huge. So that helps a lot. And I think my favorite part in this area is this checkered handmade tile that I was able to find in Mexico. And I just absolutely love it. It's a little bit more fun since this is our not only laundry space, but our pool bath. So I kind of wanted that vintage, fun pool vibe. I love the way it's styled as well. I incorporated that vintage vibe with, you know, the shape of the mirror. This is a vintage light from France, and even the hooks in here are accordion hooks that I found at a vintage shop. And now from the laundry, let's check out the gym. So wellness is pretty important to us, and it was a little tough to find good gyms here in town with air conditioning. And with how hot it is during the summer here, we thought it was worth making a fitness center in our home. Plus, up here with the amazing view, find it very motivating to do our workouts up here. Have kind of our basic equipment here. What I love most is we really tried to make sure this didn't obscure the view at all. So when you're on the rooftop, in the pool, at the dining table, you can still see straight through to the view. And as a result, we have these massive windows, they open on both sides, and massive doors here and here. So we can open up, get a breeze going, and it's really nice to have. The subcontractor that made these doors and windows, because they're such big panes, obviously they can't carry them through the house, so they actually hauled them up from down below. I didn't watch that day. I was a little nervous, but they made it happen, and it was definitely worth the trouble. I loved the look of a natural wood pergola, but again, with the weather here, it can be really tricky with the humidity, maybe, termites long term. And so we were able to do a metal and paint it with a wood look. And because we did that out there, we continued it in the gym. So this is actually aluminum that has a wood-like finish and will last a lot longer. A feature that I love, because this is for me, my boxing bag, we put it on a rail that slides. So when I'm using it, I can pull it to the center of the room. And when I'm not using it, I can push it kind of out of the way, and then we have a lot more open space. So it's a very flexible space for whatever we're doing, whatever we need. We really wanted to have a nice flow from fitness to relaxing. It's almost like you get your heart rate up in here and lower it out here. And so because of this accordion door that we installed, it makes a really nice flow. And even when you are working out, we loved the idea of being able to have this grass to work out on, or inside. It's kind of an indoor, outdoor concept. Going to our plunge pool. This pool existed when we bought the house, but we resurfaced it in a micro cement and we rebuilt the stairs. It had pretty funky stairs around it before, and so we took those out and just installed one set of stairs here, which I love. I love the curve on them. I love the finish. It feels almost very Mediterranean to me, and that's kind of the look I was going for up here as well. So from our pool is our pergola. This did not exist before we added it. Shade, also important to us. And this is where I loved the idea of a wood look pergola. That was in my dream vision, but a more realistic version is the metal with the wood look, and it's more durable, and I feel it turned out beautiful. We even added this detail to the top that ties in with our awnings around the house with the circle detail. And then in our pergola, we added these layered lights. And going back to my original inspiration, I had almost a sombrero look light that was rattan, but I keep going back to the weather. It's important to really keep that in mind here because you want things to last. And so I was able to find a gold hammered metal version and love the way they turned out. They're almost sombrero taco lights that swing with the wind. Here is our big dining table. I really loved the idea of just a long table that holds a lot. We'd love to entertain up here. And this was another piece that was hauled over the side of the house. And so it was a tremendous feat to get it here. But again, so worth it, and we use it a lot. We added a nice big shelf to here so we can do some styling. I love the look of a lot of greenery up here. We're surrounded in this house by a lot of greenery, and because we like to keep things so neutral, I love just incorporating plants where I can. So we have a lot of local plants, local pots, a little more disco ball action to bring the fun. And then on the lower part here, there is the system for the pool, which was existing, but we enclosed it and did the same wood-like finish on it. So it's a little bit prettier, and it houses just a little bit more storage as well. Over here, this planter was existing, and I used it for an herb garden, which we use all the time. You saw the herbs that kind of hang and dry in our kitchen. We use it for cooking a lot. and I just love having the herbs. They thrive here in Vallarta. This is one, I think, of our greatest additions. It was a little last minute, but we had this space that falls above our arched windows and we thought we might as well use it. And we did a pizza oven, like a real pizza oven. It was made in Guadalajara, Mexico. We brought it up here and we use it a lot. My husband has gotten really good at making pizzas. So when we're entertaining, it's something that we love to do. And even when it's just us, we love a good pizza night. So this is our pizza oven. And then we added this kitchenette as well. We have our grill. We grill a lot up here. Obviously our sink, little fridge, kind of just everything we need to entertain and enjoy this beautiful view up here. I have to mention our tile as well. It matches the front and those couple of bathrooms around the house. In my vision, really had a tumbled stone tile, kind of an irregular pattern, and the contractor team did a really fantastic job of sourcing this and installing it just the way I wanted to. And you can tell I love it so much because I ended up using it in multiple places of the house. We actually started with this rooftop project. We began our whole remodel because when we moved, it was all saltillo tile and it leaked through to the second floor when it would rain really hard. Not only that, but the saltillo would get very hot in the sun and it was really slippery, which is hard with the rain in the pool. So we thought it was best to remove it and replace it with this new tile. What's fun is we kept just a piece from the original tile. Since then, I've learned that the way that they make saltillo is they put it out to dry, and there's a lot of animals that live in the area. They let them kind of pass through it. At first, when I saw this, I thought maybe it was someone that lived here. Maybe they put their dog prints in it, but it's actually the making of the saltillo process. And if you're lucky enough to have some kind of animal print in it, they say it protects you. So I'm glad I kept that piece. Ending over here where I have a bit of a story. This little mini pineapple that is still in the process of growing, I inherited from a neighbor who recently passed. And so I like to name some of my plants, but I named this little pineapple Bruce after my neighbor. And I never knew how pineapples grew. It's a pretty long process, but you basically take the top of a pineapple, put it in water so it grows roots. And once it has enough, you put it in soil and it takes 1 to 2 years to grow one. And so I am also very proud not only of Bruce, the person, for growing this, but Bruce the pineapple as well. And I can't forget to mention this beautiful view that we're so lucky to have. We're so close to everything in town. So it's a great location, great view. We can see the beautiful cathedral that is famous to Puerto Vallarta. Obviously the ocean. Here on this side we have Los Muertos Beach, where there is a beautiful pier. And when we want to go in town, we can just walk down. Our main street is here, Basilio Badillo, and that has a lot of great restaurants, shops, and you end up on the Malecón where you can walk along the ocean. Again, there's tons of restaurants, shops, and it takes you all the way into town and past that cathedral. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Luxury Home Show. We're gonna go make some pizza now. If you wanna see more of my work, you can find me on Instagram at Casa Linda Interior Studio, and I'll catch you soon.
Hey Luxury Home Show, my name is Kim Lapine. I'm an interior designer in Los Angeles. Welcome to my home. So we are in my entryway, and when we first came to look at this house, it was very cozy and homey,